Hi friends, I'm your new friend in the house, Rochelle Potkar, and every other time on my veranda, I'm going to bring to you my poetry and stories. Today is a very short story called Our Lovers that is part of my story collection Bombay Hangovers that you will find on Amazon. Back then in the 80s, I had just one lover. My beauty could afford only that much. Malaika's beauty afforded her many lovers. We lived as paying guests then, when jobs were scarce and the pay low. Unlike now at these call centers where you get everything. Malaika was a charmer. At that time, a dinner was a grand outing, and her boyfriends always took her out. She would come home and lay her gifts on the bed, and we would talk about this and that, examining the gifts, toying with them in blissful trance. Sometimes she would get perfumes that smelled like heaven. Other times, books with lovey-dovey words on all their pages, or greeting cards with pumped-up hearts, silver jewelry, or ornate candle stands. One guy even had the cheek to gift her a polka-dotted panty. We had laughed the whole night making silly jokes around it. The sex wasn't great, she said, compared to the precautions she needed to take and the anxiety she faced before each period. I went around with the one and only Glenn. He was a pious churchgoer and had a strong sense of marriage and family. He watched Sunday TV and preferred the parks, museums and seasides to the discotheques and movie halls. We would watch the waves jump to our feet every Saturday as we sat at our beachside promenade, sucking onto our ice cream cones or watching the cars go by. There were ambassadors and Fiats in those days. His gifts were nothing like polka-dotted panties or blueberry-scented makeup boxes. Rather, a favorite book that he wanted me to read or a free pass to a science convention. He was a diploma engineer or something like that. We made love, though Glenn had told me that if I ever got pregnant, he wouldn't support an abortion. We would have to get married. Meanwhile, Malaika had moved out of our shared accommodation into a women's hostel, which she relayed served delicious pork roast and mutton soup on Sundays. I would have loved to follow her if it wasn't for the rent that was too high. Besides, Glenn and I had decided to get married. Malaika came for our wedding with a new man wrapped around her arm, Derek. Tall, dark, with attractive eyes. But she dodged the question on marriage when I asked her. Malaika had many lovers, while I had just one. But I dreamt of her lovers. Derek, Vishal, Bobby, Prem, Sylvester, Dilip and Anil. Each time I made love to Glenn. It was my way of equaling the scores, besides having a secret harem of many male lovers at my disposal. This was until I met Satyavati, a maid and a runaway prostitute from the village, who told me how she dreamt of her beloved Jagmohan each time she was forced upon by various men. Our lovers. I will take your leave now, dear friends, and see you at the next story. It might be a very small story, or it might be a story in 2 parts. If you happen to read my book, Bombay Hangovers, do leave a review on Amazon. I would love to know your thoughts. Until then, see ya.